Hello, BookTube. I'm just noticing, looking in the camera here with the light on, that I have not shaved in quite some time. I'm terribly sorry about that. It's a bit nerve-wracking for me to do because I can't feel what I'm doing, and you'd think I'd be used to that after all this time, but I still, not only can I not feel what I'm doing, and so I don't like to be waving around a razor, but also since I can't feel it, I don't know how bad it is until I look in a mirror. And if you look like this, you wouldn't look in a mirror all that often either. I went without shaving while I was up at the little farmhouse in Vermont, and I clearly need to do that because I am hoping to go out and do errands this week. I don't know how bad Winter Storm Ezekiel is going to be. It's bearing down on Boston as we speak. The skies are heavy covered with clouds. The air has that quiet, pregnant feeling of something about to happen. And all the forecast models say that this storm is going to start hitting Boston between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. So I don't know what the week is going to be like. I have no idea. We shall see. But you can put up with my hirsute appearance long enough to do mail. Yes, I love doing mail with you, and we've got quite a few packages to go through here, and we end with a box. So let's see what we have here that might distract you from my face. Not an easy thing to do, I know, but let's see what this first one is. It's heavy, whatever it is. Oh, all right. Just like yesterday, we start off with a winner. This is coming out in late December. God bless us. I don't know who's going to pay attention to this. Hope maybe it will get lots of review attention in January when everybody comes back to their desks. I don't think so. Most book section editors are going to feel the same way that I have every time I've been a book section editor, which is, the book onslaught for any given year is so great that let's not even talk about last year's books. I mean, 2020's books are going to kill us right away, right out of the starting gate. So let's not look back. Let's just look forward. And by this is the date on this thing is December 17th. By then, even I will not be reviewing books anymore for the year. A little slow on the uptake there, Bean. She's just sitting over there. She's not approaching me. Oh well, who knows? She's feeling it too. Dogs are very sensitive to that sort of thing, to atmospheric, to low pressure systems. She's feeling it too. So, with this oncoming weather. So anyway, the book that I'm cooing and kawing about here is the finished copy of James Hankin's Virtue Politics, which is incredible. An amazing study of the Italian Renaissance. Just amazing. We saw this a long time ago. So I'll read you a bit about it just in case we have new people or in case you don't follow every video I make. How important is the character of a leader to the well-being of their nation? Let's hope not much. This question has occupied philosophers ever since Plato and Xenophon and remains urgently relevant today. Yes, because you paid money that wasn't yours to silence a porn star about the affair you had with her while your wife was still in the hospital with your newborn son. So it's urgently relevant today. Yeah. And then when investigators closed in on that, which is a blatantly illegal thing to do, you took your longtime friend and fixer and knuckle bruiser lawyer and had him go to jail for you. So his family's celebrating Christmas without him this year. Thanks to you. Solely thanks to you. But anyway, the founding fathers were unambiguous in their belief that their experiment in democracy could only work if virtuous men were at the helm of the ship of state. That isn't actually true. They wanted that, of course, but they worked into the Constitution of the United States. I'm assuming that's the founding fathers that are being talked about here. They worked into the Constitution of the United States explicit remedies in case, accidentally, a non-virtuous man was elected to the highest office in the land. Those remedies are being played out right now on your 24-hour news feed here in America. But not everyone has been convinced that democracy would be a fertile breeding ground for virtuous leadership. Okay, well, the ironies now are too great for me to continue reading. You get the point. This is not about 2006 post-2016 American politics. This is about the Italian Renaissance. And I'm going to do the author the credit of assuming that a book this intellectual, this well-researched and well-grounded was in the works for a long time. I'm going to pay the author the compliment of assuming that this is not a Trump book. So we'll just move on. Now, Bean, if you go to sleep there, the Packages are going to fall on you, baby. Oh, all right, well, we'll see. Maybe we'll get a little... Let's see what the next one is. Baby, see, these are going to fall on you if you go to sleep there. Why don't you sleep on the bed? Well, baby bean, here. Why don't you sleep on the bed? There you go. Just sleep there. That's going to be comfortable. She's been a little off her feed since coming back from Vermont, because in Vermont she had endless adventures. New people coming into the room all the time. Took a while to train the family on Frida rule number 1, which is that every time you come back into the room is the first time she's ever seen you. So she's going to literally vibrate like a buzzing bee with urgency to meet you. You can't just pop by the doorway and say across the room, "Hi, Frida." No, you have to come over and let her fuss all over you for as long as she wants to, until she's done. And then you can go about your merry business. But she had a whole family of people to do that with. She had new places to eat and sleep. There were cats, there was a rooster, there were alpacas. So she's still decompressing from her vacation. Okay, this next one is a finished copy. I think we saw this before. This is a 2020 book, comes out in January. This is Small Days and Nights by Tishani Doshi, with a requisite hideous American cover. And it's an exquisitely written and many-layered story about the search for belonging. Grace Marisola has spent a decade living in the United States with her husband. After graduating from an American university and a marriage she's been unsure of for years, she spends her days working a mundane job and has only one person she could call a friend. Just as her marriage is really beginning to fail, Grace's mother dies. She immediately leaves America to return home to Pondicherry, India, and cremate her mother. There she learns about Lucia, the older sister she didn't know existed. Okay, I don't remember if we heard about this before. It comes with an interview with the author, and it comes out in January, so it'll be given lots of new fiction attention in January. I haven't read it, of course. I'm not reading 2020 books, but I will get to it, presuming that I'm still involved in literature, that I'm still reading in 2020. I will get to it then. Let's see what this next one is. Oh my, okay, all right. A lot of these might be finished copies. I said that yesterday, and they weren't, but this is by Peter Mankow. We saw this already. This is The Trials of Thomas Morton in the finished copy from the great folks at Yale University Press. This comes out any day now. Adding new depth to our understanding of early New England society, this riveting account of Thomas Morton explores the tensions that arose from competing colonial visions. A lawyer and fur trader, Morton dreamed of a society where Algonquin peoples and English colonists could coexist. Infamous for dancing around the maypole in defiance of his pilgrim neighbors, Morton was reviled by the Puritans for selling guns to the natives. Colonial authorities exiled him 3 separate times from New England, but Morton kept returning to fight for his beliefs. And if I remember correctly, I still haven't got to this, which is really terrible. But if I remember correctly, this is the first serious book on Morton in a long time. Maybe I should have dug a little deeper into the back shelves of the old farmhouse, because that's where maybe another New England book on him would be. But I'll have to get to this. That's going to be a refrain, I imagine, throughout this whole book haul, is that I'm going to just keep saying over and over again, I have to get to this. And I will. Now that I'm back, I'm in a fever to make good on the books of 2019. As insane a goal as that is, an obviously undoable goal, I am intent on making good on the books of this year. So I will be reading all throughout Winter Storm Ezekiel and long beyond. Oh boy, oh fantastic. I tell you, book publicists are my favorite people. Okay, great. All right, let me tell you about this then, because quite a few of you are going to want to read this. This is a May 2020 book. This is In the Lion's Den. This is the second book in the House of Falconer series from the great Barbara Taylor Bradford. Most of you, quite a few of you will have mothers and aunts who love this author. And if you've dropped your snobbery spectacles and given her a try, you might like her yourself. And here she is doing historical fiction along the lines of what Jeffrey Archer did. All best-selling novelists that sooner or later at some point want to try their hand at historical fiction. Let's see here. So this is volume 2 in the series. James Lionel Falconer has risen quickly from a mere shop worker to being the right-hand man of Henry Malvern, head of the most prestigious shipping company in London. With Malvern's daughter Alexis running away to the country after a terrible tragedy and refusing to return, James's ascent to the head of the company seems inevitable. But even a charmed life like James's is not without its setbacks. A terrible fire threatens to end his merchant career before it's had a chance to truly begin. And if I remember correctly from the first book, that is not the only thing. There are also matters of the heart that are involved. Mrs. Ward, James's former paramour, has a secret that could change his life forever, and his distaste for Alexis Malvern is slowly growing into feelings of quite a different sort. Can James continue to be master of his own fate, or will all his charm, intelligence, and wit finally fail him when he has to enter the lion's den? So this comes out in May, and the reason why I said that publicists are my favorite people is because I mentioned in a kind of whiny way to the book's publicist that I would really like a copy of the first book, because I got it. I think we hauled it and talked about it on this channel. I think I recommended it to you, but I don't have it anymore, and the publicist did. The publicist sent the first one, which is Master of His Fate. This is book 1 in the House of Falconer. And see the covers? See how that is neatly done? That is very neatly done. So this is the trade paperback of the first one. These are set in Victorian England. They are, those of you who have read Barbara Taylor Bradford won't need any inducement any more than that. She's not, as I often say, sometimes about authors that I deeply love, she's no Pushkin. But what she lacks in literary graces, she makes up for in storytelling ability. So I enjoyed Master of His Fate. And I'm actually, this is one of the, I mean, as a critic, I keep up with authors, I keep up with authors. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see if maybe, a health scare or the health scare of a child, or maybe a wrong comment at some literary event has made them take a chance, or many chances, in their next book. Someone like Barbara Taylor Bradford doesn't need to pitch her books. She certainly isn't in any danger of losing her contract with her publisher, so she could try something different. Even if it's not dramatic, I pay attention to these sorts of things, and I know that it's probably a sickness, but you have it too. So I would read this anyway. I would read this series anyway. I did it for Jeffrey Archer. I've done it for a whole bunch of other people. Frederick Forsyth, for God's sake. But it's all the better when you want to read the next book, right? I'm eager to know what happens to the characters in this series, so that's a plus. Great, fantastic. Okay, so I have the first book. I will read the second one is a 2020 release, but I will reread the first book to get the old sentiment. So let's see what we have here. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, all right. All right, settle down there now. All right. Okay, all right. I know that I'm known far and wide in, a lot of publicists know me, a lot of publishers know me, a lot of authors know me. I know that it's fairly well known that I love Jane Austen, this side of idolatry, and that I am a huge fan of Jane Austen pastiche fiction. Okay, I'm a huge fan of it. I've written about quite a bit of it, including, a couple of fairly well received and well circulated reviews, including one of Longbourn by Joe Baker, a book that I think is just brilliant, but lots of others too. I understand all of that, but there is no cause whatsoever for me to have now 3 copies of this book. This is just Janice Hadlow's book, The Other Bennet Sister, and this is about Mary Bennet, the stilted, awkward, book-quoting schoolmarm in the making of the Bennet sisters. You've got the younger sisters who are fizzy and brainless. You've got the older sisters who are beautiful and formidable, and all the other sisters have their dedicated fan bases, if you want to call it that, other than Mary Bennet. She tends not to. She seems to be thoroughly unlikable. And as a result, novelists have flocked to her. Pastiche novelists have flocked to write books about her. And this is one of those, but this is, I think, the 3rd or 4th copy that I've received from one person or another. I am going to review the book, but I'm only going to review it once. In fact, maybe a giveaway of some kind. I can never figure out how to do giveaways on this channel, because I'm giving books to all of you all the time. I leave my email down below for people to get in touch with me about anything in the world. I love hearing from all of you, and quite a few of you overcome your natural Protestant resistance to asking for something and say, I noticed you have a second copy of this book. I would love it, or so-and-so that I know and love would love it. I would love you to send it, if you would. I don't consider that a liberty at all. Quite a few of you effusively apologize before you make such a request. Believe me, if the request doesn't work for me, for one reason or another, either I've promised the book to somebody else or I intend to keep it myself, I will simply tell you. We get plenty of books on this channel. I will find something else to give you. But I don't mind the request at all. Come now. We're friends here. Feel free to ask. But well, and this is a perfect example because I have many copies of this book now. And I only need one. And the one that I need is the finished copy. The finished copy comes out in March. That's the one I will actually keep. All of these advanced copies. Well, anyway, that's what this book is. And I don't know. It comes out in May or in March. I don't know anything about it. I'm not going to touch it until the new year. But so all I've been able to say about it all the times that I've gotten it in the mail is that I'm looking forward to it. I'm greatly looking forward to it. I love Jane Austen pastiche fiction. I love when some author goes at that especially the incredibly familiar story of Pride and Prejudice, and decides to try and write something new. I could stand 10 times more of it than I've read. Absolutely, I could. Tell me the long and complicated backstories of every character involved. I especially love the Jane Austen pastiche fiction where we get the story of some minor character or major character in Pride and Prejudice, and the author weaves in the events of Pride and Prejudice and stitches it to the original book with actual quotations. So that the specific scenes where the character they've chosen to write a book about are the same as the scenes in the novel, at least for dialogue. You don't start writing like Jane Austen, but the scene is exactly the same. I love that. I absolutely love that. I always frown a little when pastiche authors of any kind, not just Jane Austen, when pastiche authors get to a point like that and say, oh, I know you read the original scene in Pride and Prejudice, but they all misheard. This is what was really said. I think that's poor form. What you want to do is tell your character's story, and when you get to the famous parts where we know them, those parts should be identical. Only we should be reading them differently because of your handling of the character. That's fantastic for me. I think some characters in Pride and Prejudice are unsalvageable, and I think some of them we probably want to be unsalvageable, right? Nobody wants to like Mr. Collins. But nevertheless, Mary Bennet, I am wide open to liking her. So anyway, let's move on. Sorry. Here's the next one. I'm just hoping it's not another copy of the other Bennet sisters. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. This looks like a slim volume of poetry. Yes, this is by, oh God help us, Genya Turovskaya. Genya Turovskaya. It's got to be Genya, right? Short for Evgenia. I don't know, one way or another. It's this is the breathing body of this thought. Tiny little thing. This debut full-length collection follows the success of the author's 4 chapbooks, as well as her award-winning translations of 2 Russian works. Turovskaya is an American poet born in Ukraine. She has received a MacDowell Colony Fellowship, a whole bunch of other honors have been bestowed on her, and she holds an MFA from Bard College. And this is technically her debut. It is poetry, okay, and it comes out, in November, so this is late getting to me. Okay, so it's a slim volume of poetry from November. Maybe we can get to it on Poetry Tuesday. We're only 2 days away, 2 days and 1 major winter storm away from Poetry Tuesday. We'll do the breathing body of this thought on Poetry Tuesday. All right, let's see what this next one is. What have we got here? Oh my, what is this? Okay, what have we got here? Is this, it's currently being developed by 20th Century Fox. You went out of your way to tell me that, but you won't tell me when it appears? When does it appear? February of 2020. This is by Kathleen Kent, and it's called The Burn. And we have a young man on the cover, sternly surveying the horizon. Kathleen Kent is back this winter. You're probably already familiar with her best-selling historical novels, including The Heretic's Daughter, and likely remember her auspicious first-time foray into crime writing in 2017 with The Dime. Did we see The Dime on this channel? I don't remember if we did or not. That was an Edgar Award finalist. And it's the one that's currently being developed by 20th Century Fox. And let's see here. Kathleen Kent is a born and bred Texan who resides in Dallas today, so easily switched modes to detail the seedy underbelly of the modern day Big D, and we're lucky for it. Even luckier that she's brought back her tough talking and relentless detective Betty Rizek with The Burn. Oh, terribly sorry. Assuming this is Betty, I have misgendered her. I'm sorry about that. This explosive sequel to The Dime pits Detective Rizek against a powerful drug cartel with shady ties to her own Dallas Police Department. Picks up where The Dime left off. The wounds from Betty's run-in with an apocalyptic cult, the family, are still fresh, and she's having trouble readjusting to life as it once was. Oh, then I need to read The Dime. I need to read The Dime. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's not a horrible thing. And it dovetails with a great desire of mine for 2020. I know I said this about 2019. I think I even said it about 2018, but it bothers me. It bothers me that I don't go to the Boston Public Library anymore. I used to love going to the Boston Public Library. It used to mean everything to me. I used to go there not only to get books and research materials that you can't take out of the library, but also to work. Now, I can't go there to work, right? I'm not gonna bring a MacBook with a charger and a whole bunch of work to do and go to the Boston Public Library and plug it in, and sit there at the long wooden tables with green banker shades, lights, and in Bates Hall, which is where I would go, and I love Bates Hall to distraction, but I'm not going to do that, right? I'm not going to take work and go there where Frida cannot be with me. Why would I do that when I can do the same amount of work in the exact same way? The library isn't. I would, despite the fact that I'd be sitting in Bates Hall, I would not be asking the research library for anything. It's all online, or I don't need it, and Frida would be here missing me the whole time. There is no way that I would do that, but that doesn't mean I can't visit. I'm right in the area of the library several times a week, and so I've been thinking, what is a way that you could go to the library steadily, soak it up, enjoy the community of it, without doing that, without going there to work? And this was a way that I came up with. How many times on this channel do I get some new book? I immediately misgender the person on the cover, and then I realize that it's the second or third book in a series. Now, for every publicist who is so nice to send me the first book in the series, just so that I don't complain to them, they're going to be people who don't know me from a hole in the wall, and they're not going to send me the first book in the series, but I still want to read it to make sense of the new book. How many times on this channel have I said something like that? And often the idea has come to me that could be my use of the Boston Public Library, or even the branch of it that's right down the street from where I live, so I don't even have to go to the big building. And that would be to line up these previous books and read them through the library, instead of, sitting like a gigantic tapeworm on the couch and whining at publicists saying, "You sent me the earlier copy," like I don't have access to a bookstore or a library. So maybe what I need to do, month by month, week by week in 2020, is go to the Boston Public Library to get the earlier volumes, the background material that I need for the books that I'm going to be writing about. I think that's an excellent idea, and of course I could take you with me, right? I don't do it as often as I should, but I could take you with me to the Boston Public Library almost every step of the way. In fact, I don't think anybody at the library would stop me from vlogging all the way to the pickup desk and then back out again. It is, after all, Vlogmas. Vlogmas starts today. It's a huge booktube event, huge YouTube event, huge YouTube. It's huge outside of booktube, where booktubers just buckle down and say, all right, I'm going to make a video every day until Christmas Eve. And I've mentioned this many times on this channel in past years. I don't know. Am I a vlogger? I don't do anything other than what I talk about on this channel. Other than this, a vlog would be, I would set the tripod up and you just watch me type, occasionally stopping to pet Frida. That is my life. It's not like I do a whole bunch of roller, disco or anything like that. So I don't know. Am I a vlogger? I'm going to make a video every day between now and Christmas Eve. So am I part of Vlogmas? Am I doing Vlogmas? I don't know. But in the new year, we could go to the library every week. That would be fun. Anyway, let's move on. Let's see what this next one is. We don't have any more to go. So let's see. Oh boy, we are doing well. All right, we are doing well on this Sunday mail haul. Fantastic. Okay. Seems like every year I praise this guy, and I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to praise this book because I haven't read it yet, but I love this series. And it dovetails with what we said yesterday about murder mystery series, or books and series of any kind. But yesterday we were talking about Maigret novels. We were talking about murder mystery series, Maigret and Donna Leon. It's a great feeling to have a murder mystery series that is not going to let you down, where you know that every book in the series is really good and you can just invest in it. And this is a perfect example of that. I've praised this author in this series before. The series is the Charles Lennox Mysteries, and they're by Charles Finch. This is The Last Passenger, which will be in 2020, the next book in the series. This comes out in February of 2020. This is the third and final novel in the prequel trilogy to his best-selling Charles Lennox series. So Charles Lennox is British aristocracy in ye olden times, a century ago, and the bulk of the series, the first, I don't even know, 10 books, was just his adventures as a private detective. He is a private inquirer for anybody who needs him. In a time when, there being no Sherlock Holmes, that in a time when it's hard to explain what he does, even to his own friends. And Finch decided to give us that series of books starts off with him already established and with all the secondary characters in place. And Finch decided to give us a trilogy of prequels of when Lennox was just starting out and when all of these people, he was just meeting these people, just starting to get to know them. And it's been fascinating. I often wish that other longtime series writers would try the same thing, except it's a logistical nightmare because, you drop hints here and there in every book about your character's past, and there are going to be fans who are going to notice if you're inconsistent. So this is the third book in that, and so I imagine next year's book will be back to the present of the character as an established figure in London. But let's see what we have here. Bringing Victorian London alive in a way few writers do, Finch weaves a mesmerizing tale in which, for the first time in young Charles Lennox's life, he encounters a murder case with no clues at all left behind. London, 1855. Slumped in the third-class car at Paddington Station is the body of a young, handsome gentleman. He has no luggage, empty pockets, and no sign of violence upon his person, except his clothes. And the murder was violent. Pursuing the investigation against the wishes of Scotland Yard, the detective encounters every obstacle London of 1855 has to offer, from obstinate royalty to class prejudice to the intense grief of his closest friend. Oh, fantastic. All right, great. Well, I am on board. I am on board. So this comes out in February. This is, it'll go right next to the Donna Leon on my shelf because they are the same thing. Just these people who every year, like clockwork, come out with a terrific book. And better than that, a book will be terrific ahead of time. So if you have not read the Charles Lennox books, do what I'm going to do in 2020. Hie thee to the library and get some. You're going to love them. You're absolutely going to love them. All right, now we do cardboard. We have one piece of cardboard and one box, and then we'll be done. Another hideously long video. These mail hauls, I tell you. Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness. Okay, this is another Georges Simenon novel. We had a couple yesterday. Yesterday I said that they tend to do 2 at a time. Apparently not. Apparently 3 this time. This is another Maigret novel. This is Maigret's Patience, which is I read all of these things decades and decades. 50 years ago? When they all came out in uniform mass market paperbacks with a little trench coated man on the front cover. Some of you remember those in your bookstores. There was a whole shelf of them by the time they were done, and I read them all then. I popped my way through them all then. So that's one of the things that's allowing me to appreciate these new Penguin translations, which are often much better, and of course better designed. As far as book design goes, for 2 years this series has been just at the top of the list of very attractively designed trade paperbacks. But I remember Maigret's Patience as being really good. I don't remember, I freely admit, I don't remember individually most of those books. They blur together when it's 100 books. But I seem to remember liking this one a lot. Now, what they do on the back of these books is give you a quote from the book and then a brief description. They're not trying to sell you Maigret. They figure you either know about this series or you won't, and that most people do. If you don't, if you haven't read these books, you really should. And, go to your library. Your library might be getting these new Penguin editions. Or go to your bookstore and treat yourself to just one of them. They're, what are they? $14 a piece? That's not that bad. That's not that bad. Try it and see. Try 1 or 2. They'll stick with you. The atmosphere will more than the details of the plot. And you will, I think, love them. Or better, even so, there's not that much of a difference. These translations are better, I think, stronger, more evocative, more atmospheric. But if you go to a yard sale or a charity shop of some kind, and you see a whole box of those the previous translations in those mass market paperbacks, get them all. But anyway, so the quote from the book is, Maigret felt less light at heart that morning when he woken up that morning with sunlight streaming into his apartment, or when he stood on the bus platform soaking up images of Paris colored like in a children's album. People were often very keen to ask him about his methods. Some even thought they could analyze them, and he would look at them with mocking curiosity. And the plot is, when a gangster Maigret has been investigating for years is found dead in his apartment, the inspector continues to bide his time and explore every angle until he finally reaches the truth. And that bit about, what was it? He would look at them with mocking curiosity. Maigret is a grown-up. He's an adult. He has command over other men. He has had his job for a long time. He is extremely venerated at his job. And he's been around. He's seen a lot. He's happily married. He's lived in the same place forever. Goes home from work after long hours. So there's a way in which you could say he doesn't suffer fools gladly, and he knows what he's doing. And all of those things, all that list that I just described, is almost always missing from truly contemporary, from modern series of murder mysteries. I mean, and all of the things that I just described are true of, for instance, Inspector Commissario Brunetti, Donna Leon's main character, is the same way. There's something about that feeling of, I mean, what did we see earlier? We saw a character who was wounded and is recovering, and how many times on this channel have we heard about the protagonist in a murder novel who's a blackout alcoholic, or who's, on his third reprimand and about ready to get shoved out of the force or whatever, or who stumbles across the clues that will eventually solve the murder. There's something refreshing about reading about professionals doing their jobs. And I'm very happy to have a third of these. Good Lord. Okay. And then we have the box, and then we'll be done for today. And another hideously long mail video. Let's see what this last one is. We won't be done with videos for today, of course. I thought I heard all of you lean forward and say, really? We're getting out early? No. If I'm going to be locked in with a snowstorm coming, then you're going to be locked in with me. All right, we end with a great one. We end, what a mail all this has been. Okay, this comes out in late December. No one's going to pay any attention to it, and they should. They bloody well should. Oh, I am so glad I got this. Fantastic. Okay, this is by Joseph Frank, and this is Lectures on Dostoevsky. This is a hardcover, a finished copy of his Lectures on Dostoevsky. And that doesn't sound like much. This is the guy you want to read Lectures on Dostoevsky by. So let me see here. Oh, he died in 2013. Why didn't any of you tell me? I didn't even know he was sick. He died in 2013. I thought he was still alive. Okay, this was perhaps the most important Dostoevsky biographer, scholar, and critic of his time. There's no perhaps there, and not just of his time, of all time. His never-before-published Stanford lectures on the Russian novelist's major works provide an unparalleled and accessible introduction to some of literature's greatest masterpieces. Presented here for the first time, these illuminating lectures begin with an introduction to Dostoevsky's life and literary influences, and go on to explore the breadth of his career. All the major books, and some of the minor ones. Oh, this is going to be a feast, an absolute feast. And I know it's going to make me want to go back to Dostoevsky. This author does that because his love shines out on every page. And I think I have quite a bit of Dostoevsky on ye old penguin wall. Written in a conversational style that combines literary analysis and cultural history, Lectures on Dostoevsky places the novelist and their key characters and scenes in rich context. Oh, man. Okay. Fantastic. Great. Well, this comes out in that barren no man's land of time, the third week in December 17th. Who's going to be paying attention to books then? Except maybe me. And even then, December 17th, you're right on the cusp. It'd be about a week after that when I start to not care about books at all. So I will get to this long before then. Fantastic. Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, that was a fine mail haul. It took a long time, but there we go. So we have Lectures on Dostoevsky by the greatest Dostoevsky expert of all time. Then Charles Finch, the new Charles Finch. This is the last passenger, and that passenger is dead, and his clothing is violated, but his body is crystal clear. So who killed him? And why doesn't he have any of his personal effects? And more importantly, presented with such a tabula rasa, how do you possibly solve the crime? especially when the whole of Victorian London is against you. Then we have The Burn by Kathleen Kent, book 2 in a series. We have The Breathing Body of This Thought, a debut collection of poetry. We have yet another copy of The Other Bennett Sister. I'm strongly looking forward to it, but my enthusiasm for it is the same, no matter whether I have one copy or 100. We have In the Lion's Den by Barbara Taylor Bradford. This is coming out in the new year. Those of you who love, the disdainful, the George Eliot term would be lady novelists. Barbara Taylor Bradford has been a staple of them. Rosamund Pilcher, you know the type that I'm talking about. And here she's turning her hand to historical fiction. And I also have the first volume, Master of His Fate. The Trials of Thomas Morton, New England Puritan History. Small Days and Nights by Toshani Doshi. And Virtue Politics by James Hankins. I've already read this. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I'm glad to be able to go at its sources and its bibliography and whatnot. And finally, Maigret's Patience, our third Maigret novel in one day. So there you go. That is our mail haul for today. And like I said, I'm just going to keep going with the mail. We'll just do it every day for the rest of the year. So I'm going to wrap this up because it's enormously long. Good Lord. Sorry about that, BookTube. I'll be back.